So what is Google Search Console and how can it help you with your marketing strategy? In this week's marketing tip video, we're going to do a deep dive and discuss Google Search Console, which is very closely linked to Google Analytics. Hi everyone, it's Leanne Cohen's here, Digital Success Catalyst and owner of Marketing Leap. Today we are doing a bit of a deep dive into Google Search Console, which will actually run through and help you get the most out of your website, out of the blogs that you do, the content that you put up, and give you an understanding of where your ideal clients are coming from and how they're actually moving through your website. Firstly, why is this important as a business owner? Because there's so many other things that you need to do. Well, if you don't know where your ideal clients are coming from and where the people are visiting your website are coming from, you have no idea of what is working when it comes to the marketing and the content and everything that you're putting out on social media. Last week, we did a bit of a run through on Google Analytics to show you the different tools and what was available in the information that you could find there. This week, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into Google Search Console. Like Analytics, it is a free tool from Google, and it actually helps you monitor and maintain your online presence. If you've got issues with your website, this will be the first place that will show up. And because of the latest changes when it comes to privacy information and things like that, Analytics will not actually show you specific keywords that people are clicking through, but Search Console does. That's where it becomes really important. And not only that, in the last month or so, there has been another algorithm change. Now, Google is constantly updating their algorithms, but this one is actually called Core Web Vitals. And it's actually part of the user experience update. Google has basically one goal in mind, and their job is to put the most relevant information in front of their client, which is the person searching, in the fastest possible time. Your job as a business owner is to make sure that you have the right information online and on your website. A couple of things that were really important is, and they rolled this one out probably about 2 years ago, was forcing everybody to have the S at the end of the HTTP, because that actually shows them that it is secure browsing. So you've got to have what's called an SSL certificate. These days, if you don't have an SSL certificate on your site, then when people go to click on your website, they'll get a great big warning, regardless of what internet platform they're using, telling them that where they're going is going to be insecure. You lose people straight away. But the core areas that Google are focusing on is making sure that you have useful information, making sure that it actually caters to what it is that people are searching for. Your website has to be easy and intuitive to move around and to use. It has to be reliable and have accurate information and be accessible for all audiences. So it has to be functional. And then finally, it has to be trustworthy, so that people that are visiting your site feel that the information you've got is credible. And you've got to bear in mind that 75% of online customers will actually make judgments on your brand and on your company based on your website design. And not only that, 88% of people, if they have a bad experience, they're not going to return. As I said, your goal as a business owner is to make sure that you have a website that is fast loading, that it doesn't have all these really annoying pop-ups, that the information that you put out is what your clients want to see. The more user-friendly your website is, the higher ranking you're going to get, so the more people you will be in front of. Last week, we actually ran through the analytics. Now, this is just a demo account that Google puts out there, but it gives you a really good idea of what you can do. So I went in depth in last week's video, but you can go through your audience, your acquisition, which is how they found you, overflow, and then your site content. So a lot of this information here, which is your site speed, your search, and how people move around your site, is actually what you find when it comes to Search Console. When you set up your analytics, you link it with your Search Console. And again, as a business owner, I know for a lot of people, this is stuff that you really don't want to know about. Like, you didn't start a business because you wanted to become a web developer. But whether you like it or not, this is your online space. So it's basically like opening up a shop and saying, well, I don't want to know anything about the lease. I don't want to know anything about the rent. And I really don't want to look after it. As a business owner, you need to make sure that you have access, number one, to the back end of your website. Number two, that you have access to your analytics, and you make make sure that your search console is connected, and you should actually have access to that as well. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to understand everything about it, but it means that if you change web developers or you start working with an agency, you have control of your online footprint. And that's the most important thing. And I see it time and time again with businesses that will start working with an agency or a web developer, and they've got no idea of where anything is. So the minute they decide that they want to shift their focus or they want to change companies, they're effectively hamstrung because they've got no control over anything. When it comes to Search Console, it actually does give you a bit of an overview of how it works. It gives you a really good outline of your performance, what the click-through rates are, the impressions that you've had, how many people that have actually clicked through to your website. And based on all the keywords that your website's ranking for, what the average position is. And then it will actually go through and give you a whole list of different keywords that people are actually typing in, and you can actually go through and deep dive into this and see what pages, what countries. And again, it gives you a really good idea of the content that you need to be putting out there. Now, one of the things that we're talking about today is the Core Web Vitals. So Core Web Vitals is basically the user experience. So it's the loading performance, how much interactivity there is, and how visually appealing the website is. And one of the really great things about this is that it will actually tell you what your page experience is. It tells you whether you're on the right track or not, whether you're ranking, and also how people are finding your website and actually using your website. And that's going to help you, again, like I said, what you measure and what you track, that is what grows. So once you have an understanding of how people are finding your site, what keywords they're typing in, it just makes life so much easier. So as a business owner, there's just a couple of things that you need to keep an eye on. One of them is this page experience here, which actually tells you whether you have a good page experience or not. The other thing is when it comes to your performance and you want to know what keywords you are actually being found for, you can actually go down to your queries. And I mean, this will actually go into the thousands depending on how long the website's been running and how much information you have on there. But it also tells you how many searches there are, as you can see here. And if you were going to do Google AdWords, what it would actually cost you to actually do an advert using that particular keyword, then the clicks, and then the impressions as well. At the end of the day, you've got to, number one, you've got to have control of your online space. You don't need to understand the ins and outs of it, but it just means that if something goes down, you are not being hamstrung and held to ransom by agencies or other web developers. And I'm not saying that is a common theme, but it is something that I have seen time and time again, even to the extent of starting to work with a client and then finding that an agency has set up their entire Google ads and Facebook ads in their account. So when the client goes to move, they are literally having to start again because they cannot move that information across. The whole purpose of me doing these videos is to give you an understanding as a business owner of what it is that you need to do in the online space, what controls you need to have. You don't need to understand everything. You do need to have a bit of an understanding of how to track things, how to find out exactly how your clients are finding you. And I've mentioned before about a particular client who, when we ran their reports, every month consistently, Pinterest was in the top 3 search engines, so that people were actually using Pinterest to get to their website. Now, if we hadn't run those reports, they would have had no idea, and they would not have been able to change their marketing strategy up to focus on Pinterest. And ditto with any of the others. If you know, and you're doing these searches and you know that most of your clients are coming from Instagram, you're going to focus on Instagram. If they're coming to a particular blog, you're going to make sure that you write more blogs and create more content around that particular topic. It's all about having an understanding of what works and tracking and measuring as you go. And you don't need to be a web expert. You don't need to be an SEO expert. You do, though, have to have control of your online footprint. So do a bit of a check today. Make sure that you have access to your Google Analytics. And if you don't, message me. Comment below. I'll give you some tips on how to go through, how to find out exactly where it is, and how to actually get access to it. Because it is so vitally important as a business owner that you do this. And especially with the constant changes that Google is rolling out all the time, if you're spending a couple of thousand on a website, you want to make sure that it's actually working for you and it's not just a really expensive shop front that's sitting there doing nothing. So I hope that has been of some value to you today. If you have any questions about the online space and you're not too sure what it is that you should be doing, comment below or reach out to me. I'll have links in below. We can have a bit of a 20-minute chat and see exactly what it is that you need to do to grow your business. So, and like I said, the whole purpose of these videos is to educate you and help you as a small business owner get an understanding of the online space and how to grow your business using this incredible platform that we didn't have 15, 20 years ago. So, if there's something that you'd really like to learn about, something new that you'd like to know, please comment below, let me know, because that will dictate the information that we share moving forward. And in the meantime, guys, I'd love it if you would actually share your biggest takeaway in the comments below. In the meantime, I will see you again next week. Bye for now.